Welcome back to Hometown Haunts and to our latest season, Season 5 of the podcast. We start our new season in Louisville, Kentucky, talking about Christina's trip to the Witch's Tree and surrounding area, while Kat shares a spooky story from the Derby City, the Ice Boy. Thank you all for joining us tonight on Hometown Haunts. I'm your haunted historian and host of the show, Kat Cloco. And along with me on this journey into the unknown are my friends Christina Wald and Jen Kohler. Hello.
Hey.
Oh man, 5 seasons. I don't think we are now tied with my time on the Paranormal View.
Woohoo!
For real?
All right.
It was
Wow.
5 years on the Paranormal View.
Impressive.
And now it's 5 seasons, almost 5 years here. So, yay.
Ooh, cool.
Someday we'll get to Gettysburg.
One of these days.
Yeah.
You know,
So-
the sky's the limit.
Yeah, the sky's the limit. So, a little bit on our show news. We got some new conventions lined up where you can see me, and Christina has some activities as well. I'll start. I'll be at Alaska Robotics Mini-Con in Juneau, Alaska at the Alaska State Museum, April 27th, Alaska. Just put in everything. And then I'll also be at the Small Press Expo this September in Bethesda, Maryland, as well as Cartoon Crossroads Columbus in Columbus, Ohio at the end of September. And Christina, you have a trip coming up.
Yes, I'm going to Romania in June. Actually, I'm leaving May 26th, so a little bit before June. So we're getting geared up for that and preparing. And I'm going to be doing another travelogue
That'll
based
be
on
fun.
Romania. Yeah, I'm excited about that. And then I also will be teaching a workshop in Tuscany in May 2025. So I have a link to that in the show notes if anyone wants to find out more about that. But it should be really fun doing a little exploration in the area. That area of Italy is really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure there's lots of haunted spots too. I was thinking about that. Like, I'm sure there's all sorts of interesting stuff around there.
Gotta be.
Yeah. Yeah, I was actually telling Mike about your trip to Tuscany. I'm like, I think people can go with her. Can I go? And he's like, I don't know.
I think we should try to go, and I can walk around and take pictures, and you two can do your drawing, and
It is
it's
an
just be
actual
fun.
It's an actual workshop, so you go to
yeah,
Oh.
so you sign up for it. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can sign anyone can sign up for it. Although there's a limit of 10 people.
Okay.
Oh.
So it's not it's because it starts getting unwieldy when you have many more than that for a workshop. But
Yeah.
it looks like she's got the itinerary nicely planned, the woman that
that's
runs the
good.
program. So it's, sort of sketching and painting in the morning and then kind of checking out Tuscany in the afternoon.
Oh, that sounds
Oh.
nice.
Yeah,
Gonna
so
have to look into that.
yes, yeah, I'm really excited about it.
I haven't been back to Italy, and I've only been once, long time ago.
I've
Oh,
never been to Italy.
It's been like 20 years.
I've been a couple
Ooh.
times. This will be my third visit, and I'm excited to, check it out. Last time we were there was 2013, and we were in Florence at that time too. It was actually when the Pope was elected, so we were there when I have
Oh,
pictures
yeah.
of all the. It was just
I
sort of
remember.
incidental. I mean,
Wait,
it was
no,
very
I
nice of
wasn't.
us. It was very nice of them for us as tourists that they elected the Pope while we were there. I mean,
Mhm.
usually, when you visit someplace, they don't allow, they don't have that sort of big thing for you. So we
No.
felt very
You were
lucky
very
that
privileged
they
and lucky.
specially,
Yeah.
yes, that they specially elected a pope just for us. No, I'm
Oh
just
wow.
teasing.
I think 2003 is when I was there.
Wow.
In Florence.
Okay.
So now I have
Yeah.
a question. Why is the Alaska Robotics Minicon called robotics? Like, is it like comics that are themed with robots, or is it a robotics lab that it's at?
I know it's a little confusing. So Alaska Robotics is the name of the comics and gaming store that sponsors it.
That explains it. Okay.
So that and they just moved, and unfortunately, I don't have their new address right off the top of my head, but they're near Amalga Brewing now. So they're up the hill off of the main road, and they're wonderful. I went there last year. You go in, and it's just stuffed wall to wall with graphic novels, comic books, and games. And
Amazing.
Wow.
so if you are taking a cruise and you stop in Juneau, definitely head over there. They have a lot of great stuff. Their staff is awesome. And they also have a lot of local artwork and stickers made by local Juneau residents that
Mm.
they sell at the store. So I bought way too many vinyl stickers made by local artists,
There's
and
no
Oh,
such
nice.
thing.
they adorn my sketchbooks right now. So
Yeah, you
I,
can't
I
have
love
too many.
I love when
mhm,
I travel going to different game stores and comic stores because
mhm,
there is a lot of really cool stuff.
yeah. So I'm looking forward to being back in Juneau, and it will be rainy and cold, but I'm kind of used to that weather now.
You are on that side of the world.
I
Mhm.
am on that side of the world. Though today it was very sunny and
Oh,
it's
good.
starting to clear up more now. And all the
Mhm.
trees are blooming. And I discovered I have 3 different types of cherry trees
Oh,
on our property.
Ooh,
how
So
pretty.
yeah, it's amazing. One of them's actually right outside this window and I'm staring at it.
mhm.
So and we have hummingbirds. I didn't expect
Oh,
to see
Yeah,
wow.
hummingbirds this early, but yeah, there's hummingbirds and coyotes are also out. One went through our yard 2 nights ago. So,
wonderful.
yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know that coyotes were that far north. I mean, I thought there's wolves. Aren't
Mhm.
there? I don't know. I know when I worked on the elk book, wolves were a very sensitive topic
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
they need the wolves for the ecosystem up in the Northwest. Like,
Mhm.
especially thinking about Yellowstone and Montana. They I mean, they obviously help keep the elk population down, and there's a lot of stuff in the ecosystem that they help, but strangely, ranchers don't like it when wolves eat their
I
cattle.
know. It's just a mystery why they wouldn't like that.
They get
Yeah,
mad.
we don't have wolves in Washington state. There are proposals to bring grizzlies back to the lower part of the state. There are
Oh,
grizzlies
interesting.
along the Canadian border in the Cascades, but it's only a few different small groups. People aren't so thrilled with that because a lot of people hike and bike around here. Um, it is interesting that I've never been to a place where it is encouraged to, if you're going to run or jog, you do it during the broad daylight, like in the middle of the day, or you do it in a gym.
Mm,
Because if you want to trigger a mountain lion's prey response,
you
just be a
run.
jogger out on the mountain. So there are some people who do jog. I see them, but I just go, we have 2 mountain lions that live on in the neighborhood I live in,
Ooh.
and they go after the deer herds that go through,
Mhm.
and then I'm just like, no, I don't want to. I carry bear spray with me after running into a bear a few months ago, and a bear got onto little guy's play area
Oh,
yesterday
yeah?
because
Oh,
all the bears, they don't hibernate here because there's constant food and it never gets cold enough. Like our chilliest night was in the 20s,
Mm,
and so they never need to hibernate. And now all the new mamas have their new cubs, and the older cubs are turned out on their own. And this was one of those 2-year-old cubs that has just gone on its own. So I
aw.
have this great photo. It's the it's not a huge black bear. It's about the size of, I would say, a Great Pyrenees, so a few over
mm.
100 pounds, but not the biggest black bear. And it's stuck on the fence trying to get across.
Oh.
I would
Aw.
And
like to see this photo, please.
I will show it to you, but it is the most awkward bear. It eventually figured out how to get across the chain link fence, and then it
Aw.
walked through the recess area into up into the little play area, went back down, unfortunately not down the slide, and then went through to a neighborhood that butts up to the recess area, to like a neighborhood. Climbed the
Aw.
fence there and just went on its way.
He's
But
exploring.
all the kids were on lockdown
Yeah.
until it left. And earlier this fall at the elementary school around here, a bobcat took a nap on their recess equipment and they
Aw.
couldn't get it off. So they had to keep the kids from playing outside until the bobcat left, and it was
Yeah.
there for a good 2 hours,
Yep.
sunning
Yeah.
itself on like that plastic decking that the recess equipment's made out of.
It's
Well,
their world. We're just living in it.
It really
It's
is.
it's good that they respect the wildlife.
Yes.
It
yes.
is. It is refreshing to see respect the wildlife. We have a lot of be bear aware stuff. All
Mhm.
of our trash cans are bear proof.
Mhm.
Last week a bear did rummage through my neighbor's trash, but it didn't get into anything. So that's interesting. Also, all the rabbits around here have discovered that our dogs are really unaware of rabbits. So now our yard is a rabbit haven
Oh
because they can
wow.
safely eat the grass and sit in the yard, and our
Mhm.
dogs just wander around because they were raised with rabbits.
Mm.
So they're just like, "Oh, it's just another rabbit." They don't chase it or anything.
Oh,
But
that's
Oh
every
wow.
our
funny.
yard smells like dog, so the coyotes don't come in,
Oh.
and neither do the
Oh.
Nice.
bobcats.
So they're not gonna get
Yeah,
eaten.
exactly.
Bunnies.
So now we're a rabbit
Oh.
haven.
Oh.
Wow. You need to
It
get like one of those outdoor cameras so you can get some interesting video of all the wildlife living around you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have security cameras, but yeah, I should just get one that rolls at night with night vision that you can get
Mhm.
everything because they come through, definitely.
I
And
had a camera on my house, and every night around the same time, a possum would be
oh,
Aw.
walking along the top of the fence, and then however many minutes later, it goes back the same way.
Oh, that's
So
so
I
cute.
guess it was looking for food, or I was hoping it would have babies and it would have its little babies with it, but it never did. So,
could have
Hmm.
been a male.
yeah. It could have
Yeah,
been. I
yeah.
didn't know. But
Probably
it
just
was
getting a drink of water going back.
yeah,
But
it
I
was
love
fun seeing
possums.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I
How
ran into
exciting.
a pair of ravens today, which
Aw.
you definitely can tell the difference between a raven and a crow. And
Mhm.
these were chunky ravens. It was a nesting pair. So I'm just like,
Aw.
stay here, please. I want to hear they sound like billy goats up in trees.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
So I'm just like, I hope they stay, but
I
we'll
think
see.
you can train them to stay. You leave little shiny baubles for them to play with,
Yes, they like
Oh, that's
shiny
true.
things.
and then they'll remember and they'll come back.
Yeah, I should do that.
Mhm.
Give them a
Got it.
locket or something.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. I was thinking bells, but yeah.
Yeah.
True. That's a
Yeah.
good one too.
So
So
Welcome to the Hometown Haunts
thanks.
podcast, nature podcast.
yeah, this
Yeah, yeah.
turned into a nature podcast. Um, not that that would be bad. I like nature
Mm-mm.
a lot. So, would you like me to start with the Ice Boy story, and then Christina, you can tell us your adventures
Of
going
course,
around
of course.
Louisville?
Jen have anything? It says Jen is busy doing Jen things, which I like.
Yeah, that was Jen's doing
Uh,
Jen things.
I've been scanning in a bunch of photos for a photographer friend of mine, and that takes some time.
Mhm.
Other than that, not much. Betsy is still her 20-year-old self kitty cat is
Aw.
still kicking
No,
along. She's got an appointment tomorrow, and then I have my job interview on Thursday.
wee.
Wow, a lot going on then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually a lot for me right now, and I keep thinking I've wasted this past year doing absolutely nothing when I could have been doing so much.
You did a
But
podcast.
well,
Yeah.
besides that, was more thinking along the lines of like getting personal stuff done that I've been meaning to do for years.
Mhm.
And you always tell yourself you don't have time because you're working and you got to do laundry.
Mhm.
But I've had the time and I just did not do it. Nah.
Yeah,
Tis
I
what
can
it is.
identify that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes things just take their own schedule. I mean, you
Yeah.
shouldn't ever beat yourself up if you don't get things done on something like that because maybe you just
Yeah.
needed that time.
Mhm.
Well, it's funny because the first interview I had was just over the phone, and I'm like, look, I've got PTSD from working at the Enquirer for the past 17 years. And I said,
Exactly.
that's one of the reasons why I took the year off, right? Because I'm
Mhm.
like, I don't want to carry that over into my next position.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
yeah.
I mean, you needed to decompress, and I don't think anyone should ever feel self-conscious about that. I mean,
No.
I'm
you
gonna
needed
hate
that time.
myself when I need to retire and the money won't be there because I've used it.
Well, that's welcome to everyone.
That's future me's problem,
Yeah.
and we're not gonna
That
worry about that.
yeah, that's a valid concern for a great number of our population. Like, what am I going to do when I retire? Like, I think I'll be a cartoonist until I'm dead, just like Charles Schultz,
Yeah.
um, going out at my drafting table. It's
Mhm.
that's the
Yeah.
way of life right now. Not saying it's healthy. That's why taking time off is nice. I really think Americans in particular need to chill with
I
the
know.
amount of work that we force ourselves to do. I think a lot of European countries have a much better work-life balance.
Is it Norway or Sweden or something where you, like, have mandatory vacation in the summer and they're, like, off for a month? Or you're allowed to
Oh,
take a month off consecutively? Like,
I could believe that. They have very nice
I mean, a lot of
maternity
yeah,
plans too.
it's one of those nice Nordic countries that treat
Yeah,
their people well.
yeah.
I mean, I think that yeah, I think there's a couple places. I was just thinking of the joke where they said, like, and actually a friend of mine that used to work at GE complained about this because she said that, like, they were working on something, and one of the people she was working with, I think he lived in France, was
Mhm,
going on holiday for a month, and she was asking about something. He's like, "I'm going on holiday. I'll see you when I get back." He's
Mhm,
like,
mhm,
let's not talk about it till I get back. And that was the joke that in Europe, you know, they'll say, "I'm going on vacation. I'll talk to you when I get back." In the US, it's like, I'm having surgery on my kidney. Here's my
mhm,
phone. As soon as I come out of you can contact me as soon as I come out of
mhm.
anesthesia.
that's about right, yeah,
Yeah, it's messed up. It's
It
messed
is.
up.
It is.
yeah.
And then they
It's
don't pay us enough to be able to retire. When we can retire, then we'll retire, and then we'll die.
well, speaking of death,
Yeah,
that's our
speaking of
topic
death,
today.
we're getting welcome
Here,
to
there,
Hometown
there you
Haunt,
go. The segue.
where every haunt starts with a death.
Okay.
Um, just like
You
Murder,
can't
She
haunt
Wrote.
something if you're alive. Well, you
Yeah,
can, but
well,
Well,
I guess you could, but
it's called stalking.
I was thinking astral projection,
Oh,
but
or that. I've been watching true crime.
yeah,
Yeah,
that I understand.
it's in there.
Fun fact, this is we'll get back to this in a second. Working on Zombio, the entire time I was inking it, I was marathoning through cold case files. So,
Nice.
wow.
Very
yeah,
nice.
yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, so well, we're going to Louisville, where lots of people have died, just like every great city in America. Okay, that didn't come out right at all.
You
But
can't have any place where people live. There's going to be people die.
Mhm.
exactly.
Yep.
And you went on a trip there, Christina, a few weeks ago,
Yes,
which
we went
inspired
on a
today.
girls' weekend to Louisville, and friend of the show, Katie, was with me, and so she arranged for us to go on a ghost tour to Louisville.
Oh,
And the thing that's really nice about Louisville's very similar to Cincinnati, but bigger,
yeah.
and it's a river town, so it's on the
Mhm.
Ohio River, and so it has a lot of the same, like, feel to it. And it
Mhm.
was really an interesting it had a lot of charm. I had not been to Louisville for a weekend before. I mean, I'd been through Louisville. I've seen comedy shows downtown Louisville, but I've not, like, spent the night there. And I actually used to live in Lexington when I was co-oping, but I never
Mhm.
really went to Louisville while I was there. And it's a really charming city. And the place we went to where this story we're talking about takes place tonight is supposed to be one of the everybody claims to have a place that's one of the most haunted in the country, but this place claimed to be one of the most haunted in the country.
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah.
it was a lot of beautiful old Victorian homes. They even had a murder house.
No.
So we're
And
not talking about the murder house, but there was a
okay.
murder.
But we'll get back to that after I read about the Ice Boy.
Yes.
But yeah, it sounds like a really cool trip, and you can tell us about the stops that you went to afterwards.
Yes.
But what I'm covering tonight was very much inspired by Christina. So tonight, my story is The Ice Boy of St. James's Court. So, featuring almost entirely of Victorian architecture, Old Louisville spans 48 city blocks and is the largest preservation district in the city. However, it isn't as old as you may be led to believe. Starting as a suburb of Louisville in the 1870s, it's surprisingly new for the history of the area. The area was we are visiting today is called Fountain Court in Old Louisville. A cut through between St. James's Court and 4th Street, the main features are large flower beds and a fountain. There are a few ghosts that lurk in the shadows, but we are focusing on one who only appears during the coldest of nights. This is the Ice Boy of St. James Court. It was 1897, and St. James Belgravia district was a fashionable place to live. Having been built up as a residential district just a few years prior in 1892, the area of Old Louisville was full of magnificent Victorian single family homes. So you can imagine when crewmen broke ground to build the 5-story high end St. James Flats, the neighborhood families were upset. Believing that the apartment house would tarnish the reputation of the property values of St. James Court, residents took the owner, Conrad, to court. Conrad won the case with the argument that housing was needed in St. James Court and Old Louisville. For 15 years, residents of St. James looked upon the mammoth apartment house, nicknamed Conrad's Folly, in resigned disgust. However, on the night of February 4th, 1912, that changed. An explosion caused a fire to erupt on the top floors of the apartment house. According to building residents, everyone got out, although some were hurt in the frenzy. Dawn revealed a charred remains of St. James Flats, the area still smoldering with a thick glaze of ice from the Louisville fire hoses. It was considered a total loss estimated at $150,000. And I provided a photo that's from the City Historical Society. It is a 5-story building, Victorian architecture, and it is just covered in about 2 to 3 inches of ice because it was historically cold that night. And when the fire hoses just sprayed, it basically encased the entire building in ice. And I believe it was described to be a stalagmite of ice just erupting out of Old Louisville. And then there's some other photos that are taken showing the ice-coated ruins of the St. James apartment house. And a little bit of a newspaper clipping. Legend has it, although, excuse me, legend has it that although all the residents got out of the building, one young delivery boy did not. It was rumored that on the evening of February 4th, a young delivery boy who lived in the nearby Cabbage Patch district, which was 1 block west of the flats, had entered the apartment building for an errand for a resident on the top floor. While in the building, he took in the warmth on the historically chilly night. When the explosion occurred, he was stuck on the top floor. The following day, when inspectors looked through the building, they found him curled up in the corner, stood on his face and clothes, encased in a layer of ice from the battling the blaze. His death was not reported because he was not a wealthy resident of the building or the neighborhood. So it is believed. What is the Cabbage Patch District? Because I'm sure all our listeners just ears perked up when I mentioned that. It was a settlement house established to help the poor community before government run healthcare was established, like the poor homes that we talked about earlier in Cincinnati. The Cabbage Patch Settlement House in Louisville was established in 1910 by Louise Marshall. It was inspired by the story Miss Wiggs of the Cabbage Patch, written by old Louisville resident and philanthropist Alice Hagen Rice in 1901. Supported by the churches in the community, the Cabbage Patch grew from not only being one house, but a series of connected houses just around the corner of St. James Court. Cabbage Patch Settlement House is still in operation and offers family services, ministry, recreation, and youth development for about 1,000 minors and their families. It is too rumored to be haunted, that by Alice Hagen Rice herself, since the Cabbage Patch was only a short distance from her home in St. James Court. And I will say that her story, Miss Wiggs of the Cabbage Patch, was turned into a number of stage plays and was recreated as a movie 4 separate times, the last one in 1942. And I read a little bit about it. It basically is the humorous retellings of people in poverty, like the little adventures that they go on, but it wasn't done in a way to make fun of people in poverty. It was done to attract attention to the situations and how we can improve it. So she did a lot of philanthropy trying to improve the lives of people in Louisville and is seen as a great philanthropist in Louisville history for her work. Getting back to St. James Flats, the apartment house was rebuilt, but only using the 3 remaining floors, and it still stands today. In fact, one of the flats was for rent recently. Many residents of the neighborhood believe that Ice Boy, as the ghost has been nicknamed, still haunts the area today because his death was never reported or acknowledged by media. His spirit has been witnessed wandering the fountain court looking for somewhere that's warm, and he is dressed in a soot stained clothes. He usually will appear before you in December, January, or February. And that is the story of the St. James Court's Ice Boy.
So we just missed him. We were there in March.
Yeah, it looks like you just missed him.
They said that sometimes he tries to hold your hand, and it's supposed to be like an ice cold hand.
Oh, that's really sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the descriptions in the newspapers, he sounds like he was a kid between 8 to 10 years old. What
Mhm.
is funny is I did watch a reenactment for KET. It was for Haunted Louisville, and KET being the PBS station in Louisville. And the young lad they got to play him was clearly like a senior high schooler. And he's walking around pretending to be cold in shorts and or it's in he looked like a newsboy's
Mhm.
actor basically, but he has short
Mhm.
sleeves on and he's walking around, he's like looking really cold, and I'm like, "Sir, you're at least 7 years too old to be playing this part."
This kind of had a vibe of the Match Girl to me.
It does, it does. It wasn't uncommon for, kids and families in the Cabbage Patch to do errands for people around, old Louisville. You had women who were, like, did laundry or, kids that would run errands or do grocery errands for stores and stuff just to earn extra money for the family. So, it's really sad that this kid like, by the way he's reported, it sounds like he died of smoke inhalation in the
Mhm.
corner of the building. So
Mhm.
Mhm.
thankfully he didn't get iced out, I don't think. But it's just really sad to hear that.
Those
Yeah.
were impressive photos.
I
Yeah, they are.
know.
Yeah, it's well, Louisville's a big city and they had cameras then. So yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, the vibe in that whole district with the fountain and everything was really nice. I mean, it was the houses are amazing there. It's if you go around Clifton, which is close, because this looked like it was very close to University of Louisville.
Okay.
Mhm.
And so old Louisville is where all these houses are, and it was just seemed like a much bigger area, and the places were really beautiful, but a
Mhm.
lot of really haunted places too. So
Oh, I'm sure.
the ghost tour was really interesting.
Yeah, so tell me about the ghost tour
Mhm.
and the witch's tree. I knew about before when you had mentioned that you've been to Louisville, because the witch's tree that's in Alexandria, Kentucky gets confused as well because you have 2
Mm.
witches trees in Kentucky. So the one that's in Alexandria is actually featured in the 3rd issue of Cincinnati Cabinet of Curiosities, but we had to call it Witch's Hill so that you could tell the difference between the 2 stories because 'cause they're wildly different stories.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Well, it's interesting because this tree, people throw stuff into it, like beads and stuff like that, so
Mm.
it had a bunch of adornment on it, but people had been stealing it, and they weren't sure who was stealing
Mhm.
it. The woman doing the tour said that they thought it was some, fairly religious folks were taking stuff down from it and per se, but apparently the people that run the Facebook site, apparently it's bad news to steal stuff off the tree.
Oh.
I mean, the whole premise of it was that there had been was it a tornado, and the the it was like a curse one of the witches put on the town when they
Hmm.
cut down her tree, and then another one grew, but it was one of those stories that ended up with devastating that area of town with a fairly awful tornado
Oh, wow.
later.
It's
Yeah.
also a very gnarly looking tree.
I know that tree,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's the original one. It like grew later. Like the original
Mm.
one came down.
Mhm.
It
Uh,
kinda reminds me of the tree from Ferngully. I know it's
yes,
a
Mm.
reference. It's all twisted and gnarly, you're right,
Yeah.
Jen.
Yeah.
And, yeah, even if it's the 2nd tree to grow there, it is playing the part perfectly well.
Sure
it's
is.
right next to an apartment right now, and the particular apartment that was in front of it or behind it actually was empty. So,
Hmm.
Mm.
it seemed like it was almost an urban legend tree more than a
Oh, I like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, you don't
you
wanna
know
steal offerings made to a tree.
No.
No.
Yes, they say that they said that bad thing happens to people and they often bring them back was the urban legend.
Ah,
That
okay.
if you take stuff off the tree, but there's a lot of like necklaces, kind of like beads that you would
Mhm.
see like for Mardi Gras, and then a bunch of other stuff. I guess people will like write sentiments or wishes and stuff and
Mhm.
hang it on there and throw it up there. I'm sure there's a lot of places like this in different cities too.
Yeah,
This seemed like it would be a common urban legend of a
yeah.
Do they
magical
have
tree.
to clean the tree up periodically? I mean, because
I
if
think
you
so. I think that there is some sort of maintenance done on it, but
mm,
it seemed like they'd have problems with vandals lately.
yeah.
Mm, yeah.
Man, yeah, can't
Yeah,
have anything nice. Nice, someone
yeah,
always gotta ruin it.
you either deal with people that are just like to damage stuff for the sake of damaging it, or
Yeah.
people that are sort of religious fanatics that are think it's
Mhm.
evil or whatever, and they feel emboldened.
Yeah.
But the woman was making the point at the tour that this was like a thing that brought the community together. People love the tree,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and
Well,
I have
that's
pictures
good.
of it, so I can post.
Yeah, that'd be
Okay,
cool.
I'll put them in. And I also have pictures of the fountain. No pictures of the
Mhm.
ice boy, unfortunately. I
Yeah,
we looked at all of our photos that we took. We didn't see anything. We were bummed. We took lots of
yeah.
Ooh,
pictures, but we didn't see any.
apparently there are apps where you can put ghosts in your photos.
Yes, there are. Yes.
I'm gonna look at that.
It's
I thought that was called Photoshop.
ha!
Well, it does it automatically for you. That's
Yeah,
what I'm saying, and I
it's
thought it would be a fun thing to play with.
as long
Not
as you disclose that they've been
yes,
edited,
yes.
the amount so I've been on Reddit and there's r/paranormal, and the
Mhm,
amount of photos that get edited with that app that get
mhm,
are very high, and also
mhm,
when I was an active ghost hunter is when those apps started coming out,
mhm.
and people would send them to us, and like, we had to constantly be on the forefront of all these apps because one person, sent a photo, and it honestly looked like the Green Goblin from the Spider-Man trilogy, but it had been opacicized to the point where it looked ghostly, and it
Uh-huh.
was peeking from behind a wall looking up a staircase, and whoever took the photo was standing at the top of the staircase, and of
Mhm.
course, it's very dark, so you could just see this tiny little outline of the Green Goblin head, and they're telling us, "Oh, my house is demonically possessed and everything," and I remember looking at this, and during the interview, I look at him, I'm like, "Do you like Spider-Man? 'Cause this is the Green Goblin. This is a photo app. This is not
Yeah.
you haven't proven anything to us that you
Yes.
need it's not concerning, and, it's just the amount of photos, what is also funny is I would get the same exact Victorian girl in a white
Yes.
dress.
Yeah. Uh,
I'm like, "This lady gets around."
what was I watching? I was watching something this week, and it was that, and the lady that was basically debunking it was saying all the apps, I recognize it's all the same figure. It all
Mhm.
is all the same, so it's all she can't be showing up at every haunted house in the world.
Yeah. She
Yeah.
can't be in Scotland one weekend and then all the way in, like, Rio de Janeiro the next.
Right,
It's
right.
just not I mean,
Or, in your basement.
yeah, in Wichita the following night.
Yeah.
She's quite a great tour manager. She has Game of Thrones theory of flying
Well, one
around the
wonders
Yeah.
if
world.
you're gonna eventually I mean, I would think with, like, some of those AI prompts and stuff too, you're gonna see
Yeah.
a lot of that. I'm curious if people that do paranormal investigations are getting that as well.
I
Like
haven't seen too much of that yet, but the AI prompts are starting to get into, the veterans groups. So, today I saw it was an AI generated image of a dad with 2 young kids,
Oh, no.
and,
Mhm.
oh my goodness, the children had about 8 fingers to each hand,
Mm.
and the dad's hands are merged together, and,
This
the
feels like very
American
alien.
yeah, and the American flag on it had, like, the stars in the middle and stripes around it. It was
I
just
love
very
that.
obvious that it was AI, but a lot of people who may need to check with their optometrist were all like, "This is great. This is such cute. What a wonderful family." And I'm just like,
Mm. It's not real.
that's not real." And then another one that I saw recently posted by, um, an older friend of mine was actually the mom of one of my friends, was a sandcastle competition,
Oh, I've
but
seen that one, I think.
yeah, that one and
There's
it's
a
like
couple,
there's a
yeah.
couple, and Jen needs to run away. But it was dogs that had been made out of sand, but it was way too far away from the water. So,
Uh-huh.
like, the sand that would have been in that area would not have been buildable. And also, it was just way too smooth. You know how everything is just hyper smooth and uber
It's weird.
vibrant?
There was
Yeah.
somebody posted a picture, it was supposed to be a horse made out of seashells. Did you see this one?
No, I haven't seen that
And the
one.
second I saw it, I was like, "Well, this is AI," because it was out of scale.
Yeah.
Because the shells were, like, the wrong size. I mean, it was an attractive image, but the shells were all the wrong I mean, my guess would have been if it wasn't before AI, I would have just thought someone just did it in Photoshop.
Yeah.
Um, and, uh, people were oohing and awing over it, and I was like, "Oh, this is a" I mean, it seems like there's a lot of and I don't wanna being not young myself, I mean, it seems like a lot of, older people are posting, like, sort of extreme crocheting stuff and, like, a
Mhm.
lot of interior decoration stuff or, like, giant crocheted dogs or cats or whatever,
Yeah.
and it's like, they're so clearly, like, AI,
Yeah. Yeah, it's,
so
always the tall tale signs are always in the details, like, with the sandcastle image, I think it was supposed to be a dog, but it looked like a lump that was slowly melting away. It was
Mhm.
it wasn't pretty, and, the paws were never right, like yeah,
Mhm.
just look at the details,
So if you
and
see a ghost and it has 7
Mhm,
fingers,
mhm, mhm,
yeah,
mhm.
if the ghost has 7 fingers, it's not a creeper, it's AI.
it's probably AI. Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, if it's just super scary, like, this is just my rule of thumb, if it's just hyper scary
Yeah.
and really elicits an initial reaction like a jump scare,
Mhm.
it's fake,
Yeah.
Yes.
because real paranormal stuff is, as I like to say, extremely mundane. Like,
Mhm.
It's a
it
flicker in the corner of your eye. Did I just see that?
yeah, or it's what looks like a flesh butt person walking by a window, and then you realize that they had no lower bit. Stuff like
Mhm.
that. That happened at an old
Mhm,
nursing home I went to.
mhm,
It looked like a woman, but it's she was out of place. She was clearly wearing a Gibson Girl hairdo and had
Mhm.
a very Edwardian looking top, but
Mm.
she faded away at her midsection. But even I, who sees dead people, looked at her as she walked past a large bay window and went, "Yeah, that's a person." And then as I watched her walk away, the little flag in my head went, "Oh, that's not a living person." So, yeah,
Mhm.
it's yeah. Anyway, so, yeah,
Well,
if it elicits, like, a startled reaction from you, it's not real.
Mm-mm.
well, it also is, a lot of stuff that you see that's paranormal are tropes. They're not,
Mhm.
you know, it's something that somebody developed imagery like for a movie or something that has gotten into the urban legend fairy, like the
Oh,
urban
yeah.
legend phase, sort of that like we were talking about how hauntings had changed, like how Amityville horror had influenced a
Mhm.
whole
Mhm.
generation of what people said they saw in their houses. And now
Mhm.
now I wonder if that show Ghosts will change the perceptions. Like
It
you know what
could.
I mean?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
instead of like the typical like evil glowing eyes stuff, like a
Mhm.
lot of the stuff in Amityville horror like was in the Bobby Mackey story that we
Yeah.
talked
Mm.
about.
The only thing I didn't read from Bobby Mackey's was any blood coming out of the walls. That was the
Mm.
only horror trope I do not recall being mentioned. But
Mhm.
that reminds me, you have a trip to Bobby Mackey's, don't you?
Yes, we're going May the 4th. So instead
Yes.
of
Oh, that's right.
celebrating Star Wars, we will be celebrating
Well, it's in the
ghosts.
evening. We can still celebrate Star
Maybe
Wars.
we'll see some Force ghosts.
That'd be fun.
Yes, I
Oh,
will bring my camera along.
yes.
Yes, because
Yeah,
once it's supposed to be torn down in the fall. I don't
I
remember
think
when it's supposed
so,
to be
yeah.
torn down,
The
and we're
last
excited.
yeah, it take lots of photos for me.
The
It's
circle will be complete.
the circle will be
It's a
complete.
2-hour tour.
Oh, you better not land on Gilligan's Island.
I'm excited. I think that it would, and I wonder, like, how close is the because the story was much longer than like the story of the girl that was in the 1800s. How close was that was murdered? How
Earl
close was
Bryan?
that? Yeah, how close was that to where the
No.
building was?
Okay. So, it was about 2 miles away.
So we
Mm.
might be able to drive by that if it's not
Yeah,
private
it's at
property.
the YMCA for Fort Thomas.
Oh,
That's
That's the
where
site?
the yeah, that's the site, the
oh,
YMCA for
Okay.
Fort Thomas,
Where
because
her
it was the
body
Fort
was found.
that's where she was murdered and her body was found there. Her head
Okay.
was never found.
Right.
And, like, technically, she like, could have gone past Bobby Mackey's at some point during her life, but there's actually
mhm.
no concrete evidence that she ever was there. Do not shout that at the tour guide, though. Just
We won't. We
yeah,
won't.
I could see somebody doing that. "I listened to a podcast and she said no." Like, don't do that. Let the people entertain you.
Yeah.
I'm sure
You know,
that
Well, there's
it's a thankless job probably leading those tours.
yeah, I can only I'm gonna be slightly catty here. The amount of asbestos and lead they have inhaled
mm,
over the past few years of being there, I'm not surprised they're tearing down the building. It's just kind of a architectural biohazard at this point.
yeah.
It's not, yeah,
So,
it's not like it's a beautiful building or something.
no.
It still has its charm though.
It was more
Mm,
charming in the '80s when it was all painted brown. I was just like, "That
Oh,
looks like a
yeah.
honky tonk."
Yeah.
But, yeah, it had that vibe, it was really strong, but,
Yeah.
not the cream color they decided on now, and for what I wanna see them do, I don't know, I think I did mention this during our show, I want to see Bobby Mackey's put, like, a memory garden somewhere on the property to
Mhm.
kinda honor the people that were there before,
yeah, that
and
would
I
be
think
cool.
that would be really nice.
Yeah.
Also, you needed landscaping anyway, but,
Yeah, I
like,
was gonna say
a
the
nice
location's not exactly scenic.
it it could be, though, with
It
some
could be,
love,
yes.
and, like, if you're rebuilding everything, put in a memory garden. If
They
not
don't
just
have
for
a
Bobby Mackey's first wife, how about for all the ghosts that are there too?
they don't have a lot of greener like land around the building though, do they?
They did.
They did?
Like, they had
It's
an
been a while since I've been there, so
yeah, like, from what I remember, their building is on the hillside going down towards the Licking River,
mhm.
and you have trees along the Licking River, and then you have this pebble parking area,
Mhm.
and in between that parking area and the trees was some green space.
Oh, okay.
And I was just like, and always full of dead grass. So I was
Because
just like, why just landscape it a little bit? Go to Lowe's, get some butterfly bushes.
It costs money.
True.
the area is pretty because it's kind of
Yeah.
in the Kentucky hills,
Mhm.
Mhm.
but the building itself is kind of an eyesore.
Yeah. So that's just my suggestion, is to put a little memory garden in there. That may
Mhm.
also, I know they don't necessarily want to tone down the hauntings, but that would help a lot.
Mhm.
Because bringing some positivity into the, I'm going to sound extremely feng shui right now, but bringing some positivity into their space would augment the hauntings that occur there. It would
Mhm.
encourage more pleasant hauntings and discourage scarier hauntings.
Mm.
But
Mhm. That
that's
sounds like
just,
that should be like a guide, how-to guide. How to have more pleasant hauntings.
yeah,
There's your
how to
next
have more pleasant
there's your
hauntings.
next book, Kat.
I know, that actually would be a good there probably already is a book called that.
So
Whenever
do
you come
your
up with
own.
something that seems like low-hanging fruit, like
Yeah.
someone's already but yeah, you're right. I mean, if you follow Neil Gaiman's description of original writing, he said the thing that makes your idea original is you.
Yeah.
Like there are no original ideas,
Nope.
but you make your idea original.
Yeah. You got original viewpoints.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
it kind of would, that particular book would remind me of the handbook for the recently
Yes.
departed, or the
Mm.
recently dead from
Recently
Beetlejuice.
deceased, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Oh,
Which the new movie's supposed to come out soon. I
Yes, it
just saw the
is. Yes,
trailer
it
for it.
is. And yeah, it's
Oh, you have
oh,
it.
there we go. Yeah.
it's a journal, but I got it at Walt Disney at Disney.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Jen
I
is
didn't know
holding up the
Disney owned
handbook
it.
for the recently
But I
deceased.
mean, I know they own
Oh wait, maybe it was Universal.
I would think
okay.
it'd be Universal.
That trip kind of I did a lot, so I don't remember where I got everything. But
Okay.
yeah.
Yep.
I mean, Tim Burton has certainly done a lot for Disney, but I don't
Yeah.
think
Yes.
Beetlejuice was part of it.
I don't think so, no.
No, it was Universal because they had a Beetlejuice house there for horror nights.
Oh, nice.
Mhm. Yeah.
When I went.
Yeah.
Beetlejuice has a pretty robust fandom.
It's,
Yeah.
well, they had the cartoon in the 90s, which is
I
what I
that was
actually
weird.
watched
that
first.
cartoon. Yeah.
Mhm. And
It
I
wasn't.
even mentioned last night that the theme song lives rent free in my head.
Mhm.
So,
I
yeah.
don't
Yeah, I
remember
remember
it.
when Kenner was working on the toy line. I didn't get to work on it as a co-op, but the co-op after me got to work on the Beetlejuice toys.
Yeah.
Aw.
Like, Beetlejuice and Lydia's relationship is vastly different than the
Yeah.
movie. It's
Uh-huh.
more platonic and
Uh-huh.
playful.
Uh-huh.
So I
Mhm.
actually saw the animated show first and then
Okay.
saw Beetlejuice the movie.
Uh-huh.
And you
Did
I
said,
it
do
mess
not
with
"Ooh."
your
recommend this particular series of actions, because when in Beetlejuice, he dresses her up in that red wedding dress, and I'm like,
Uh-huh.
"Beetlejuice, what are you doing to my poor Lydia?"
Uh,
No!
trying to rape and kill her.
Yeah. I'm like, "This is not my Beetlejuice." Like, "What are you doing?" Like, the rest of
See,
the animated show was the movie, except for that bit,
Yeah.
and, it threw me off so much. So, I kinda appreciate them as 2 different art pieces,
Mhm.
mhm.
but yeah, it's,
I used to love watching that.
yeah,
Yeah, we
that and
used to watch it when
Freakazoid.
it came out.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
So,
that was like the early 90s.
yes, it was.
I still in high school every day. My sister and
Mhm.
I would come home, sit down in front of the TV, watch our cartoons.
Mhm.
Uh, DuckTales,
Woohoo.
Rescue Rangers, Batman.
Of course,
There's
Batman.
been a whole bunch, and we'd sit there and do our homework until it was time for dinner, and
Mhm.
it was fun. I remember all those
Yes.
cartoons.
And
Yeah,
Space Ghost Coast to Coast just celebrated 30 years.
really.
Wow.
Yep, they had a live marathon on Twitch yesterday.
Yeah.
So, wow, that brought me back watching that. I was just, suddenly I was in middle school again.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we got to see Beetlejuice when they let because Troy still worked at Kenner at the time. At
Mm.
that time, it had been, I don't know if they were owned by Hasbro yet. They might have been owned by Tonka at that time. But because they were working on the toy line, we got to
Mhm.
they rented a theater out, and so all the people that worked there got to
Oh,
see it.
fun.
Mhm. Yeah. So,
Hmm.
Yeah.
yeah, it was cool. They did some I don't know if the toy line, I mean, they did toy lines on everything back then. I don't know how successful many of them were.
I did not
Um,
realize there was a Beetlejuice toy line
so that tells you how
during that
successful it
time.
was.
Yeah,
But I was in Missouri. I don't know what reached to the middle of the country,
that's true.
You know, I don't know how much was actually made.
Mm.
I mean, Troy's been interviewed a couple times because he worked on so much of the Ghostbusters toy stuff.
Mhm.
And people would be like, "Why did you do it in this vehicle?" Like, I think there's one that's a little Volkswagen Bug, and he's like, "Because we had tooling for it."
Yeah, there's no
The
deep
honest
meaning
answer.
behind it.
People always hope that there's more deep meaning than there was.
Yeah,
Does Troy
sometimes.
have any of the toys still, or?
He does.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would like to see
So,
those next time I'm over.
but
yeah.
he was recently interviewed for somebody who was writing a book about something.
Mhm.
Oh,
Oh,
cool.
cool.
Occasionally people
Yeah.
come by and he does interviews and stuff.
Hmm.
So, but
I still think that's cool that you guys are part of that history.
well,
Mhm.
I think
Yeah.
now things are just becoming more individualized. I just
Mhm.
ordered a little mini figure of my D&D character, and it actually, like, it had this thing online where you design it. You could pick
Mhm.
like all the different armor types, all the different uh, character classes, species, whatever, and it actually will be printed by a 3D printer in color.
Oh,
Wow,
It's pretty impressive.
that is impressive.
that kind
So
of
maybe that's kind of the direction things are going, really.
Yeah,
how
I
does
can
that
believe that.
are there 3D printers that can will feed more than one color in while it's printing?
Yes. Um,
Oh.
they're a little bit out of reach for, like, Troy's prints in different colors, but this one prints in millions of colors. So it's
Oh
like an
my
inkjet,
god.
3D inkjet printer. I mean, Troy can print several colors. Like, if you look at our mini palettes, they have like a little
Mhm.
second color in them. But these, they actually, I mean, it's like it's been painted. It's pretty cool.
Oh, neat. That's super
Yeah.
cool.
And perhaps eventually it will be something that's affordable and you can download 3D models and print things out.
That'd be neat.
See,
Yeah.
things have come if you
I
have a
mean, like,
will
that's
to
how,
learn
like,
it.
books get printed. Like, print on demand services are gotten so much
Oh,
better
they've
now.
gotten so impressive.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
Which, speaking of which, Zombio comes back to the mothership tomorrow.
Woohoo!
I can't
I'm
wait to
excited.
I
Yeah.
know you will post pictures. I can't wait to see them. Or
Yes,
video
I
or
will.
yeah.
Yes,
It's
that will be
it's
fun, and, but I think for now, we can leave it for everyone.
Mhm.
So, for our listeners, thank you for making it out this long, listening to our ghost stories and then talks about Beetlejuice and toys, and we went kinda everywhere today, but
Mhm,
yes,
mhm.
very
some days it's
chatty.
gonna be like that. So, for all of us, you can listen to or it has been a while, hasn't it?
Yes.
You can follow us at Cincinnati Cabinet of Curiosities on Instagram. You can also find us at the Hometown Haunts Facebook group. And if you have a ghost story, urban legend, or creepy cryptid tale you would like to share with our podcast, you can send them over to hometownhauntedmail@gmail.com. That will give us permission to read it on the podcast for all to enjoy or be spooked by. So, for Jen, Christina, and myself, good night and stay spooky. Bye bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.